reaction. But if we're going this hard, you don't get this hard. You go bam. So if they continue to go this way, and I'm looking at it for home ownership costs consume nearly 100% of typical wages in some parts of U.S. What do you mean 100%? If you go to page 15, okay, affordability pressures are most acute in coastal markets like California and New York, where in some counties the most home ownership now exceeds or nearly consumes a full year of typical wages. Kings County, New York, topped the list of the least affordable market, where homes cost 109% of typical wages. Okay, Vinny, you know what that means?
What?
You make $100,000 a year. Your home to buy, average home to buy, you need $110,000 just to pay for the home.
Jeez.
Okay, 108.9%, 108.6%. Santa Cruz, 97%. Marine County, 91%. San Luis Obispo, beautiful place, 89.7%. OC, 88%. And then the next door, nearly 1 in 3 car buyers are underwater right now on trade-ins. These are not good things to be looking at. This is affecting middle income. This is the most important community we have in the country. How do you react to it? If we go, what he's talking about, if in the next, after April 15, they do quantitative easing, oh, we're just going to bail ourselves out, and here's what we're going to do. We're going to get the money from ourselves. Inflation goes up 12 to 18%. Families are sitting there saying, how the hell do I buy a house? How do I buy a car? How do I pay off my debt? How do I do this? You're going to get the complete opposite reaction, because then AOC is going to come out and say, we told you the rich this. We told you the rich that. All they want to do is bail themselves. Look at all this Bitcoin. Look at the money they're making in crypto. And who takes the hit? You. We are going to change it. And then people are going to say, maybe we have to change the ways. Thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's, sadly, I think it's exactly right. It's a big part of why I've been very vocal, why, for me, the Iran war is not about the politics of it per se. That's a separate discussion. And people have seen my comments on it and said, oh, you're anti-Trump or you have TD. No, not at all. What I'm looking at is exactly what you're describing, which is I look at what Powell says about the sustainability of the debt. I look at the energy cutoff of what is happening to everyone that owns our debt. I look at a 50 basis point rise in 10-year Treasury yields in 4 weeks, and I know it's going to go higher. It is a double entry bookkeeping mathematical certainty. I would bet my house on it. And I also know it's very simple. You can do the math. $39 trillion, once the 10-year Treasury yield gets to 4.6, 4.8%, there isn't going to be a choice about having to do QE. It is going to have to happen, because the alternative is we will go into a death spiral and take the rest of the world with us. And so for me, this Iran war was, I can't believe they made this big a mistake, not understanding these. People say, well, there's massive catastrophic existential issues. No. You just triggered an existential issue. Like, there might have been existential issues with Iran, nuclear proliferation, blah, 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 blah. Maybe there was, maybe there wasn't. I can guarantee you, by what we just did 4 weeks ago and have continued to do, particularly if Hormuz stays closed for another few weeks, you have triggered an existential issue that is going to be met with QE to cap bond yields so that the debt stays nominally sustainable for the federal government here and elsewhere around the world. You know, Europe, Japan is another big one. And then 12 to 18 months after that, you are going to get inflation that in all likelihood makes what we saw in 2020, 2021, 2022 look tame. I would not be surprised to see 10 to 20% inflation in the United States in 12 to 18 months. And then you're going to get into what you just said, Patrick, which is you're going to get someone who looks like Mamdani, broadly speaking. And ironically, we will get regime change as a result of the Iran war. Regime change here, in the United States. That's exactly right.
Wow. You know what? I don't know, Luke. I've been talking. How long have I been talking about AOC 2028? The last how many months? Rob, how long would you say I've been saying AOC?
I remember the meeting, and you were doing you told us about the whole, what they're doing right now. Can I ask Luke, really quick, because Pat asked earlier, what would you what would you advise the president right now to do? And you guys, I think we've all agreed, go back. We would go back and tell him, is it too late? I think we're at a point right now, there is no, hey, go back to the basics. We are way too far in. What can we do now? We can't stop. The military is not going to just go, oh, okay, we're done, because it seems like these people aren't stopping. And I think President said if they don't listen, which the odds are they're not going to listen. They're very proud people. He's from there. My mom is there. Her family's from there. We're obviously Christians. But he's talking about bombing oil if they don't adhere to the demands. Oil, desalination, grid, and everything, which is going to destroy that whole place for the people. Is there any fixing it from this point? Do you think? What would you tell them to do now?
We have a very narrow window here. I've been saying since this started, it's going to last longer than people think. Remember, originally consensus was like this was going to be
3 to 4 weeks.
I said, it's going to be last longer. But B, I've been saying mid-April's kind of been my bogey, where if Hormuz is closed through mid-April, then it starts to become irrecoverable in terms of the downstream supply chain disruptions leading to debt defaults, leading to and that's like smoking in a nitroglycerin plant, right? It's not like once you drop your cigarette and it starts going boom. It's not like you can say, "Ooh, let me stop out my cigarette and I'll go home." We've got probably 2 to 3 weeks, maybe 4, at the long end of how long Hormuz can stay closed before the nitroglycerin plant of all of these downstream effects starts to go. And so, if it's me, and to your point, the challenge is, will Trump's ego allow him to put his signature on what will come to be known as a U.S. Suez crisis moment with Britain in 1956, where I don't think it will. And like when you talk to military people, private contractors on the ground, like I had a conversation with a friend, and he mentioned that we've evacuated most people from east of Cairo up to Jordan to Adana, Turkey, through the Gulf Peninsula. This was 2-3 weeks ago. I said, wait, why are we doing that? We're winning. We have air supremacy. We have dominance. He goes, are you not being told how badly our bases are getting hit? I said, no, they're not saying that at all. Now, it's kind of been leaked out a little bit since. I mean, I hear Fifth Fleet at Bahrain the New York Times finally reported last week, borderline uninhabitable. Now, can you put tents there? Sure, but you can't get air defense there, because they have missile dominance. And they have missile dominance relative to how many missiles we can make. And the Chinese make key components for our missiles. And we're saying we want to choke off China's oil. So how eager do you think China's going to be to supply us with the components to make more missiles? So the Iranians can fire more missiles than we can make for longer, which means we're never going to be able to get back to these bases to rebuild them until we have the air defense, which we can't build without China, who doesn't want it. So you can see very quickly we're in a we're walking right up. It's a quagmire. We are walking right up to.
Did you vote for Trump in 24?
I did.
You did.
I did.
Okay, so that's very important, because to say you're criticizing, yet you did support.
I voted for the man. I voted for the man.
And
yes.
so to me, if he leaves now, Trump's going to find a way to say, "Hey, we did our part. We're out. The rest." I think the right way to do it, to even say, I actually think this phrase could help. We came, we supported our partner. Israel needed help. We did our part. We're leaving it up to Israel. Israel has the right to defend itself. Israel has the right to do what they want to do. And our support is from here. And we have walked out. I think that comment can actually get everybody to say,
okay,
all right, cool, fair, okay? And you get out in 2 or 3 weeks and then open up some of the relationships, broker some oil deals, get it kind of going. You're still going to take a hit in midterm. But what can he do? Because the market cycle with news cycle, we move on very quickly, right? What can he do in your eyes for the market to move on with this Iran war?
Well, I think what you mentioned is a good proposal. It is viable. It is understandable. He could potentially go a step further even to explain how all these things happened, how, the deep state put pressure on him. I think people would love that and would back him potentially again, because, we're all wondering, how did this happen? But it may not be necessary. It just
story just came out right now that Trump's about to fire Tulsi. Just so you know, the story is going out right now that Trump could fire Tulsi, and they're right there. Fuming Trump secretly plots firing the top goon for embarrassing him. I don't know what story you went to, Rob. You went straight to Daily Beast. Go back. The first one right there, The Guardian. Yeah, Trump polled advisors, top goon. Trump polled advisors about replacing Tulsi Gabbard as intelligence chief. So this could be the part where, look, who's giving me the intel? Where's the intel coming from? I was told this is going to last a week, 2 weeks. I was told. So if you guys saw even the other day, he kind of joked about Caroline Levitt. Did you hear what he said? Should we fire her? Should we still have a job? You guys didn't hear this?
No.
Rob, do you have this where he says, I don't know. Do you guys think she's doing a good job? Do you guys not think she's doing? Do we need a new person? I think she's doing a good job. I think she's pretty safe. Is this it?
She's in a tough spot.
You're doing a terrible job. Is this it, Rob? Play it?
93% bad publicity. Some people say 97, but between 93 and 97. A person that gets 97% of bad stories, maybe Caroline's doing a poor job, I don't know. She's my representative. You're doing a terrible job. Should we keep her? I think we'll keep her. But I get 93 to 97% bad press, fake press, all fake. I won in a landslide. When you get 93 to 97 bad stories, bad press, and you win in a landslide, you know what that says? People don't believe the press. I got 90.
And by the way, she's not to cut you off. She's not the only one. He said yesterday, Rob, I just sent it to you right now too. Pam Bondi's also he's discussing to get. So he's trying to
But you know what though? That's what you need to do. Honestly, that's what you need to do sometimes.
Yeah.
Because if you're restructuring, you have to show we have to make some changes, and here's what we did.
Yeah. The other thing he could do, because of course another theme has been his relationship with Europe, with NATO, dissatisfied, this and that, and I think it's important to change things in that relationship. That would really change the dynamics. Also, with a view of how do international investors see this, European, even Japanese investors, how they see America. He's been treating Europe as if they're sovereign nations. And the reality is they're not. They're run by the CIA and his opponent. So essentially he's been fighting with the CIA when he fought with Europe. And they're not supporting me. Well, this is because the CIA, or that branch of the CIA, let's say, based there, has been using Europe to manipulate and maneuver against Trump and against his original policies. So in order to treat Europe as partners, what he needs to do is set Europe free from the deep state. So we need a bit more of this early plan of fighting the deep state by coming out and saying, okay, Germany's not sovereign, but it's about time we change that. Germany should become a sovereign state. We're going to have a peace treaty. We're going to ask the Germans to actually free we're going to withdraw occupation troops. We're going to position them somewhere else. And we're going to allow Germany to have a constitution again, be a sovereign nation. We're going to change the UN Charter. It's not going to be an enemy country in the UN Charter again. And Germany will have to do some serious changes because the entire period since 1945, the government structure, the parties have been entirely arranged as occupation administrators. And that resulted in all sorts of contradictions and problems, including when somebody comes to power in America who wants to fight the deep state, then he's got, the CIA power base in Europe, and there's Brussels as well, fighting against him. And so that needs to be changed. And of course, Brussels, the other thing, because that was another CIA project. That needs to be ended, and Europeans would love him for that. In fact, the whole world would love him for that. Why do we have these dictators in Brussels that have this power of sanctioning people? That means your money doesn't work anymore. You can't buy food. There's a Swiss, former, Secret Service high-ranking official who's now retired, lives in Belgium, and did some analysis on Ukraine-Russia war, just his opinion. And that was enough to be sanctioned. He can't travel, he can't buy anything. And they're doing it to journalists as well now in Germany. This is the European Commission. There's no court proceedings. It's just sanctioning people. Of course, giving us an insight in what they're going to do when we have central bank digital currencies. So it's quite useful. But so this Brussels Soviet revival, system, that needs to be addressed. And Trump is the right guy. If he wants, why is he even talking to a Soviet Union style structure?
What can Donald Trump actually do to win a war with Iran, especially in the eyes of Americans? The reality is, victory in this kind of conflict isn't just military, it's political. Experts point out that Iran's strategy is not to defeat the U.S. outright, but to survive, resist, and drag the conflict out. That alone makes a clear win extremely difficult. According to analysts like McGregor, regime change or total military defeat of Iran is unrealistic. Iran is too large, too resilient, and too unified under pressure. In fact, heavy attacks can strengthen internal resistance rather than weaken it. So what does winning look like? For Trump, it may come down to perception. Declaring success early, emphasizing destroyed targets, and showcasing military strength can create a narrative of victory, even if the conflict itself remains unresolved. Some observers say unclear objectives actually give flexibility to claim success at any time. At the same time, controlling the economic impact is key. Rising oil prices and instability directly affect American voters. Moves like securing shipping routes or stabilizing energy markets can be framed as strategic wins, but there's a major challenge: consistency. Critics argue the administration has sent mixed signals about goals and endgame, making it harder to define what victory even means. And on the battlefield, the situation is far from simple. Iran continues to resist with asymmetric tactics, prolonging the war and complicating any decisive outcome. In the end, the biggest factor may not be Iran at all. It's the American public. If Americans believe the objectives were achieved, the war can be labeled a success. If not, even a strong military performance can be seen as a failure. Because in modern warfare, perception is power, and narrative can matter just as much as reality.